everyone, it's me Rachel from Dwensa Garden in Ireland, and you are welcome back to the gardening year. So it's February now, a great time to kick off, and I thought I'd just run through with you the things to do in your garden in February. Now, I've covered many of these before in different separate videos, which I'll link to at the very end, but I thought it would be good to put everything in the one place. So if you're itching and dying to get out there in the garden, then this is the video for you. Hello and welcome back to the first of the regular gardening videos of this year 2025, and I hope you've been enjoying the Thai and Malaysian videos I've brought you. There will be more of those later on, but for the moment it's February. It's time to get out here to the garden and start making the beds and the garden ready for the fantastic summer that is ahead of us. And I don't know about you, but the thing that always draws me out into the garden in February is the sight of flowers like that of the fantastic rhododendron Christmas cheer, which has been flowering non-stop since Christmas Day, can you believe? So that is just a wonderful draw. Now this video is about the 11 gardening tasks that you can or should do in February. Some are optional, some can be left until March, but it is time to get out there and get those fingers dirty. Now, the thing that draws me out, as I said, was the flowers, but right beside my kitchen window I have a bed of hellebores, the fantastic Lenten rose with those beautiful nodding flowers is the first thing I see when the garden begins to wake up, and I want them to look their best. So out I go to cut off the leaves, and you need to do this with hellebores. This is the first of the gardening tasks you need to do in February, by the way. You need to remove the leaves. The reason for this is twofold. One, you want to make sure that you appreciate and see those fantastic flowers to best advantage, and two, the leaves can harbour, well, pests, but more likely diseases like black spot, which you need to take away so that the plant isn't infected. And how wonderful to see those gorgeous flowers just there nodding in the sunshine when you get a little bit of sunshine. And that brings me on to our second gardening task of February, which is along similar lines, and it's to do with epimediums. So if you have epimediums in your garden, you're going to love those tiny little flowers in orange or yellow, but only if you remove the leaves now. So if you cut off the leaves of your epimediums in February before the flowers even come up, then it's just so much easier than leaving it till March and April when the flowers are poking up, and you have to be so careful not to cut off flower stems while you're at it. And once your epimediums are sorted, you should then move your attention to cypripediums. So if you grow hardy slipper orchids outdoors, they're going to need a dose of slow release fertiliser in February. Yes, February is when you must do it. If you wait until March, it's too late. They've already started growing in earnest. So get out there, remove any grit that's on the surface of your hardy orchid bed, put down some slow release fertiliser, spoon it in or fork it in a little bit and water it, and your cypripediums are going to reward you with fantastic flowers, which will only come if they're well fertilised. And if you grow roses, then it is also a good time to put down some of that slow release fertiliser around your rose bushes too. Moving on to 4 lots of pruning that can and should really be done in February. And you can imagine it's quite cold now, so you're really only going to prune things that are well hardy, like elder and buddleia. So your elder bushes can be pruned at this time of year, especially if you're going to take them right down to the ground. But I will link to other videos that I've made on how to do these tasks. So sambucus is elder, needs to be pruned now, and also you should prune your buddleias or butterfly bushes, preferably taking them down to the ground. Now with these bushes you can just reduce them by 1/3 or you can just leave them. It depends on what style of garden you have and what you're aiming for. And if you have roses, then February is the time to prune those hybrid tea and floribunda roses. Now I can't demonstrate that because I don't have that type of rose in my garden, but do bear it in mind. And then finally, the fourth bit of pruning that you can start coming on to the end of February is to prune your hydrangeas. I have so many hydrangeas. Different pruning for different types of hydrangeas. So the paniculate ones take different pruning to the macrophylla, the mophead ones. And I have made plenty of videos about how to do that, which I'll link to again at the end of this one. It's best to wait until the end of February when the temperatures are just a bit warmer to get started on the hydrangeas. It may seem quite cold, but February is the right time to start to divide and replant your perennials. So if you have large congested clumps or if you just want extra plants, then do dig them up, divide them and replant them. And you know, the plant won't start growing yet. You'll give it a chance to just adjust before the growing season starts. February is a great time to do that because you allow the plant time to adjust to the shock of being divided before it needs to kick into growth. It's also time to deal with that compost bay. So if you have well rotted compost, now is the time to wheelbarrow it all out and lay it over your borders. Your plants are going to appreciate it so much and thank you for it in the long run. Alternatively, you can use fertiliser, and my absolute favourite is this one from Ocean Leaves, an Irish-based company, and this seaweed fertiliser is just fantastic. I've used it for a couple of years now and it has done wonders, worked wonders in my borders when I lay it down in spring. So you kind of sprinkle this on and fork it in and then water it in well, because of course all fertiliser needs to be in liquid form for the plant to absorb it. And this has just been so good on a variety of greenhouse and garden plants, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I will put the link in the video description down below. And another job for February is to cut your grass. Mow your lawn, yes, but only if the weather has been dry enough. And you can continue cutting your grass through the winter. Of course, the grass grows less during the winter, but if the weather conditions are good, if it's not too wet, then you can continue occasionally cutting your grass right the way through. And if you haven't done that, then well, February is a good time to start off again. Also, it gives you the chance to see if your lawnmower perhaps needs a bit of repair. And then finally, my favourite job for February, and the job I have to hold myself back from all through January and December even, is to sow seeds. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a greenhouse, you can sow your hardy annuals in situ in the greenhouse now, and they'll germinate when the weather conditions are optimal for them, and they will go on and make hefty, wonderful, sturdy plants. And for those of us who don't have heat in our greenhouse, you can start sowing half hardy annuals in February, but indoors. And once the weather kind of warms up a bit, then you could move those outdoors to the greenhouse and outside, etc., etc. But you can start them off in February indoors, probably on heat mats, and you are going to have nice sturdy plants before very long. And I just can't wait to get started with that. I have so many cosmos to sow this year. I'm experimenting with different types and I just can't wait to get going. And I have been standing here talking to you for far too long when there are jobs waiting to be done in the garden. And today I'm going to start tackling that pruning and finish off the hellebore bed. It's only half, the leaves are only half cut off of those flowers. I want to finish that because I want to look out that window. I want to see those nodding flowers. I want them to smile at me and encourage me, like the rhododendron Christmas cheer, to come out into the garden and to get on with it. thank you very much for watching, and I will link at the very end to a playlist I've made of the videos showing you how to do all of these 11 tasks. I'll also put that link in the description down below. So we just barely covered the skeleton of what needs to be done, and the detail is in the video, so do check that out. If you stayed this long, thank you for watching, and yeah, okay, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.